Hi everyone, John Peitzman here, JP, author of The Build Framework and your host on The Build Show. It's my privilege to introduce the next episode. I know you're going to love it, so let's get right into it. Welcome everyone to The Build Show. I'm your host, John Peitzman, JP, the author of The Build Framework and your host for this show, where we transform lives one guest at a time, and we do that by having amazing guests like the guest we have today. Matt Fox is with us today. He founded Bodyweight Built, and you can find that at bodyweightbuilt.com, and he has an amazing story. This guy, a professional athlete, crashing and tearing it up on the tennis circuit in his youth. He gets struck down with cancer. He overcomes that. He finds his calling through his heart, and now he is helping others to transform their lives, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, and the rest of it. And without further ado, I'll let him tell you more about his amazing story and journey and what brought him here today. And Matt, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for being here, JP.
Yeah, so tell our listeners about your journey and what's brought you to this place in your life.
Yeah, so I played tennis all my life. Professionally, I was traveling from 15 onwards for years by myself, doing it on the road. And at 21, I got diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Right.
I was overseas and I just had an inkling something was wrong mentally. So I flew home and went to the doctors.
So it wasn't even a physical thing, it was just like mentally you like something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And
intuition.
Yeah, even the doctor said that I didn't need to bother with a scan initially.
Wow.
But I insisted on getting that done, and it came back as it did. So I went through the process of chemo and an operation. And I kind of lost motivation to leave my friends, leave my family and get back on the road. So I just settled into where I'm from, Melbourne, began working in the family business and kind of kept active, fit and healthy because it had always been my life. Right. And yeah, it led me to here. I knew I wanted to stay in the fitness and health industry. And this is where I am today, creating a fitness program that doesn't need a gym and can help people get in shape anywhere, whenever they want. And that's what it's done to me. It's changed my life, it's changed my wife's life and the clients that I'm training with worldwide.
Right. I love your motto. I think it's like no gym, no trainer, no excuses, right? Really simple. You don't need it.
It is all about being simple. And for too long I was overcomplicating things and worrying about getting to the gym and lifting weights. I think it's ingrained into us that you need to go to a gym and jump on all these machines to get fit. And I kind of realised it wasn't, and I put that into practice and saw that wasn't the case. That's
so amazing, because so many people, you're right, have that excuse, right? They're like, I don't have a trainer, right? I can't get to the gym, or I need the equipment, or I think I purchased a Solo Flex once in my life. I think everyone did, right? Or something like that, where you have this amazing machine, and you work on it for about a week or so, and then it collects dust, and then it was like, putting clothes to dry on it, or something like that. But that's great, where people can just, work on whatever they need to with their own, so they use their own body weight.
Their own body weight,
Basically, that's cool. Yeah. And is your focus like working with individuals or teams, or do you do both? I mean,
I
what
do
would you say
everything.
your focus is right now on?
I'm one-on-one. I work with corporate companies, business companies, to increase productivity and fitness and camaraderie in the workplace. It's a big thing.
Awesome.
And groups. So
great.
A bit of everything.
What would you say? I love this question because everyone answers it differently depending upon the day and where they sit. But what are you most excited about in your life as you sit here today?
I think just expanding and touching more people's lives and letting them be educated on the fact of their health and fitness and how crucial it is into their everyday life, and the fact, again, that you don't need a gym, as it is a major excuse. I can't get to the gym, or I don't want to go to the gym, so why work out, or why work on yourself? And I've realised that it's such a key player in performance overall, everyday life, business. If you feel good about yourself, you're going to go to work, you're going to be happy, you're going to perform better in every aspect, more energy, better quality sleep, just a happier person in general.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I'm excited about, is really touching more people and getting more people to see the results of what it does for you, really.
Right, and having that balance, you're right, and the thing is, and that's a great segue into the build framework, right? Because I think your understanding of that is great, because whether we know it consciously or not, so many of us actually, when we find success, look back and realize we've actually implemented the build framework, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the build framework, you can go to thebuildframework.com where you can understand what this is all about. But really, I know you are, and for those listeners who aren't yet familiar with it, BUILD is an acronym, right? So it's about build relationships, understand the business, implement strategies, lead and inspire, and deliver excellence. And what I like to do with you, as I do with all my guests, is kind of walk through the build framework from your understanding, because the listeners, you can read a book about swimming, but then you can talk to someone who's actually in the ocean, right? And out there doing it, right? And I know that you have an amazing journey, and I know that you have different aspects of each of those categories of build that can really be insightful and inspirational for our listeners. So let's start with, I guess, building relationships, right? And if you were to think about one of the most meaningful relationships in your life, right? Because it all really starts with building relationships. What would that be for you?
That probably would be my wife.
Right.
That's not
good answer.
Not to keep me out of trouble or anything, but no, just the emotional support, the physical support, being there, helping me, when I'm tired. She's part of the business with me. She's probably the reason that I decided to take this to the business, to the world, to a community, was because of how I helped her achieve her recovery after having our son.
Right. Well, tell me about that. How did that work?
Well, she was obviously fit. She liked working out with me prior to, and then she had our son. Making Jim go to the gym during the day difficult, because obviously he was a newborn and she was with him. So we kind of worked on bodyweight training that she could do at home. She did it in the living room. Wally had his lunchtime nap. I remember it specifically. She had about...
Was she lifting him up? Like
No. She had about...
That's the next program, right?
She had about 45 minutes of peace and quiet.
Right.
And so we designed a workout plan that would take 30 minutes, and she could do it in the living room.
Brilliant.
And she ended up losing, I think it was 25 kilos in 6 months.
Amazing.
So all the baby weight plus some that she had before, and obviously got into the best shape of her life.
Right.
Fit, strong, healthy, happy.
Awesome. So on that relationship, how was that actually a catalyst to you being able to follow your heart and do what you want to do?
She just gave me the drive and the support to be able to do it. And she was there with me. She picks up the slack when I'm slacking off or getting too tired. And she's a motivating force too, I guess.
Right.
So we're a team.
That's
team
great.
together.
Well, they say if you don't have your why, right, then you really don't have any motivation.
Exactly
at all.
right.
So that's amazing. Great. Thanks for that. Moving on to understanding the business, right? When you understand the business, right, which is, after build relationships for a reason, because typically you need to build relationships first, right?
Exactly.
Because then you can have a much deeper understanding. But as we sit here and talk to the listeners who are out there, what's one understanding that you have about the business now that you would really hope that you could have, maybe learned years ago or something? And another way to frame that, what can you tell the listeners now to kind of circumvent lots of, painful experiences for them from an understanding of the business, whether it's your business or just business in general? I mean, what would you say to the concept of understand the business as it relates to build and your life?
That's a great question. I would say one of the things I've learned about understanding business and my business is to not be afraid to deviate from a plan that maybe you've had set in mind. I think a lot of us in everyday life, we go to the coffee shop before work, we go to work, we've all got this set ideas of how our day's going to pan out, and we do with business too. But it's not always the case, and I've found that you've got to be flexible and look at taking different paths when they open up, instead of, being headstrong. It's not always in your best interest to do so. You've got to be able to take a different path if the opportunity opens up, and be willing to learn and explore that path.
Right.
I think is one of the key parts of that.
That's amazing. And actually, and we talk in build, as you know, about the understanding of the business being built upon, literally, build builds upon build, like the relationships that you have, right? So my question now, based upon the relationship you talked about, did you see that relationship helped you to be able to have the confidence to deviate and not have to stay headstrong? Was there a connection there between relationships and understanding the business?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'd always wanted to be in health and fitness, but I didn't know in what direction. And I definitely didn't think that would kickstart it. But then the relationship with my wife and our family situation gave me a path that I hadn't thought about. I'd never thought about the body weight part of it. It hadn't come into mind until then. So without that relationship, I would not have gone down the path that I am now, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing how it connects. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
And the next step, of course, is implement strategies, right? So you take, your relationships, you understand the business more deeply, and actually with centrifugal looping, you loop back around and understand even more relationships that you have and a
Yeah.
deeper understanding of the business. And with that understanding, we talk about implementing strategies, right? So same question to you about strategies that you have, and this could be in your personal life or the professional aspect, but what is one of the most successful strategies that you were able to implement based upon your relationship and your understanding of the business that you'd like to share with the listeners out there?
Goal setting for me is having goals, both personal and business related goals, and breaking them down into long-term, medium and short-term, and then even breaking those down. I have maybe a weekly goal, and then I have daily goals that I want to build upon to achieve that weekly goal.
Right.
And those weekly goals to build upon to achieve the monthly goal and the six monthly goal and the year goal. So yeah, that's my strategy. Goals, writing them out too, so I can see them every day. So put them somewhere where you can look at them regularly, multiple times through the day.
Right.
That's been a big part of my strategy. And then revisiting them too when you get there, not ticking them off and not thinking about them, but thinking how you can then progress past that, set another goal and reach that too.
Right. And do you find your goals of implementing strategies are tied to your understanding of the business?
Definitely.
Or lack thereof?
Yeah, definitely. They're all intertwined as well.
Right. Yeah. And I love how you said personal and professional life as well, right? So do you have like a different list for personal and professional? I mean, it's
some of them overlap, some of them, but definitely some different ones.
Right.
Yeah, personal ones and business ones for sure, because they are, at the end of the day, two different things as well.
Yeah.
Learning to shut off sometimes and spend more time with the family.
It's about balance, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't have balance, then what are you doing?
Exactly right. Yeah.
So if we look at the next topic, which is lead and inspire,
Yeah.
right? Kind of flows, right? You build relationships, you understand the business, now you're out there implementing strategies, right? And you're clearly leading and inspiring in your field, right? But I guess the question for insight for the listeners is really, what does that mean to you, and how do you effectively ensure that you're always able to, because every day can't be just an amazing day, right? We were talking this morning, like your flight was canceled, it was an early start, like 4 a.m. you're up or something, flying into Sydney. So, I mean, how do you maintain that ability to lead and inspire every day? What are your tricks or tips for the listeners?
Well, I think it comes back to the goal setting and the strategies again, because without a goal, you kind of get off a path and you don't know what you're doing for, really. Why am I getting up in the morning doing this? Why am I going to bed late? It gives you the ability to keep pushing, and then you're obviously flowing to the people around you, and you put out the energy to become a leader, to inspire people. Of course, every day is not a good day.
Right.
That's impossible, I think. But you can make the best of all situations, and if you've got a plan in place, it makes it a lot easier when things aren't happening. You can take a step back, you can sit back and just look and think about what needs to be done and where your head's at and the next step, and that's helped me a lot, really, too. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. Well, you're clearly leading and inspiring right now. I can only hope
you.
that the listeners are writing this stuff down
Thanks.
Because it's amazing, amazing insight. Finally, it all comes together with delivering excellence, right? So, and deliver excellence kind of means, different things to different people. We talk about it in the BUILD framework, of course, about where everything comes together in the heart and being of service and all these things. But I guess the question for you today is what does deliver excellence mean to you? And what are the key aspects that keep you mindful of that and able to deliver excellence in your life, both personally and professionally?
I think it's always trying to learn and progress as a person, number one. Never think that you know enough,
right? Of
course. And just be open to growth. I think that's the most important thing, because if you stop learning, you're going to stop growing. And to me, that's everything that I've done is always listening to new people, going after new help, be it personal or business-wise, bringing new people into my team, and being open to different ways and methods of getting myself out there and being able to lead and inspire other people as well through that. Yeah.
Great. And how have you found the BUILD framework philosophy and kind of elements and aspects? How has that been helpful to you in all the things that you've done?
I think you can't do one without the other, and they all are linked together. And it kind of, as you mentioned, it goes on rotate.
Right, right.
You've got to build relationships to understand the business, and if you don't have the relationships, it makes business understanding a bit tougher. So they're all interlinked, and I think it's a great reminder too to look over those and just go through them and touch base on them and keep learning. It comes back to keeping learning. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've already given our listeners so much wisdom, but I ask as my final question a words of wisdom question. So, like, if you're able to actually look at the camera and say, here's my words of wisdom for, you know, the listeners who are out there who, you know, whether it's a quote or a book to read or whatever, you know, what would you share with them for words of wisdom from Matt today as you sit here for their success, both personally and professionally?
I think what I've discovered, and I learned probably the hard way, and I wish I started earlier than what I did, was not to be afraid of going after something. I was doing something I wasn't completely happy with for a long time because I was comfortable. So it took me a while to get out of my comfort zone. So the wisdom, the most important thing I think I can give out of that was to go after what truly makes you happy. Don't worry about what people think. It's easier said.
Follow your heart. Trust
Follow your heart. It's easier
that.
said than done sometimes, of course, because we all tend to worry about what others will think if we're doing something a little bit out of the box, maybe, or just putting ourselves out there more.
Sure.
But you've got to go after your heart for happiness, I guess, too. At the end of the day, if you're happy, you're putting your energy in towards it, then I think you'll be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very wise. So what else would you like to share with the listeners about how you can be of service to them, how they can reach you? I mean, what do they want to do? They want more Matt, right? They want more wisdom from Matt. What do they do? Where do they go?
My website, www.bodyweight.com. They can see me there. I've got Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Matty C. Fox. LinkedIn, Matt Fox as well. And yeah, basically I love working with corporates and businesses at the moment. I've had a lot of friends in that industry, and I've seen what I've been able to do with them and their workplace and just create a happier, healthier team environment. And, you know, because stress is a big part of business, especially the corporate world these days.
Right.
And this takes a lot of stress out of it and just creates a better environment from what I've seen. So,
great.
Yeah.
Well, I know they will take you up on that offer and get ready for the emails and the posts and the likes and the loves to come your way.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here with us today.
I appreciate you having me.
And thank you, everyone, for joining today. It's really my privilege and honor to have this platform to share with all of you. So if you haven't yet, subscribe below, share the word, and we will see you either at thebuildframework.com, where you can find out more about this amazing framework, or on our next episode of The Build Show. Take care.